Think of a dream you actually remember. Not last night, any of them, but the one that comes back. Now, some questions. Was something going wrong? Were you being chased, or late, or lost? Trying to get somewhere and failing? Were you in an ordinary place? A house, a road, a school corridor, a room you half recognize but can't quite place? And was the bad thing happening to you and not to somebody else? If you said yes to most of that, it isn't a coincidence. People have been collecting and coding dreams for 60 years, thousands of them, and what comes out is not what anybody expects. Your dreams are far less original than you think. In 1966, two researchers, Calvin Hall and Robert van der Castle, built a system for scoring dreams, not interpreting them, counting them. Who was in it? What happened? Where? And what went on between people? No symbolism, no meaning, just what the report says. Then they ran it across thousands of dreams. For every good thing that happens in a dream, 7 bad things happen. Winning something, finding money, falling in love. 7 bad things for every one of those, 7 to 1. And about 70% of the time, the bad thing happens to the dreamer, not to somebody else, to you. Sit with that for a second. If your waking life ran at that ratio, you'd call it a crisis. But every night, your brain builds a world where misfortune finds you, specifically, again and again. Ask people what they dream about, and they'll say falling, dying, teeth coming out. Those are rare. What actually fills dreams is much more ordinary, and somehow worse for it. Accidents. The dream where your car brakes stop working on a hill you've never seen before. You pump the pedal and nothing happens, and the intersection is getting closer. Losing things. The one where you can't find your classroom or your suitcase or your child in a crowd that keeps shifting. Being injured or ill. The dream where you look in a mirror and something is wrong with your face, your skin, your teeth, your eyes, and nobody else seems to notice. Obstacles. The dream where every door you open leads to another door, or where you're trying to pack but the suitcase keeps getting smaller. Something in the environment is threatening you. The shadow in the corner, the water rising, the building swaying when there's no wind. Those 5 account for nearly 90% of everything that goes wrong in there. Murder shows up in under 4% of men's dreams, under 1% of women's. Aggression is the most common social interaction in dreams, but you're almost always on the receiving end. The dream isn't about what you do, it's about what might be done to you. A study of over 1,500 people, aged 8 to 70, found that more than half of all dreams contain a theme everybody recognizes. The most common is being chased without ever being caught. You know the one. Your legs are heavy. The hallway stretches. You can't get the key in the lock. The thing behind you never quite reaches you, but it never stops coming either. And none of it is sealed off from your life. After the September 11th attacks, researchers collected dreams for weeks. How often the attacks turned up, tracked how much coverage someone had watched that day. Whatever your brain is doing in there, it's working with what you gave it. So, what's going on in there while all this plays? In 1952, researchers in Chicago noticed something odd about sleeping people. After a few hours of calm, their brains lit up again, and under closed lids, their eyes were darting about. They woke them up, and the sleepers said they'd been dreaming. That's rapid eye movement sleep, REM, REM. 4 things happen in it. First, your body gets paralyzed. The brain blocks the chemicals that let muscles move. You're being chased through a collapsing building, heart pounding, and your body is lying completely still in bed. Without that, you'd be running into walls. Second, your visual system goes into overdrive. That's why dreams look so vivid, brighter than memory, almost as sharp as waking sight, all of it made inside your own head. Third, the reasoning part goes quiet. The prefrontal cortex, the bit that notices when something doesn't add up, dials right back. That's why you can be late for an exam in a school you never attended, riding a horse through the cafeteria, and none of it feels odd until you wake. Fourth, you barely record any of it. The chemicals that lay down long-term memories drop away. Your brain builds a whole world, then deletes the file before you can save it. All of it runs on a schedule. 4 to 6 cycles a night, 90 minutes each. Deep sleep dominates early while the body repairs itself. REM gets longer toward morning, which is why the longest, strangest dreams arrive just before your alarm. And it isn't only us. REM turns up in most mammals and in birds. Your dog, twitching on the rug, is almost certainly inside something. Why would evolution keep something that costs energy, paralyzes you for hours, and fills your head with things that aren't real? For most of history, the answer was messages. From gods, from the dead. In 1900, Freud moved it inside the head. Dreams were disguised wishes, he argued, coded up because the real version would be unacceptable. But modern dream science has mostly left that behind, because his theory absorbs any evidence you give it, which makes it impossible to test. The question now is simpler. Dreaming is expensive. There are 5 serious answers. The oldest one is that dreams don't mean anything at all. During REM, the brainstem fires off signals more or less at random, and the cortex does what it always does with noise. It builds a story. On that view, a dream is your brain finding shapes in static, which held up well until people started counting. Random noise doesn't hand half the population the same chase dream. The second is memory. Dreams may be the brain sorting the day, deciding what to keep. In one study, people who napped and dreamed about a hard maze got dramatically better at it. Better than people who napped without dreaming of it, and better than people who stayed awake thinking about it. The third is threat rehearsal. You practice being chased in a place where nothing can actually catch you. That chase dream, the one where your legs won't work, might be your brain running a survival drill. It would explain the 7 to 1. Evolution doesn't care whether you enjoy your sleep, it cares whether you survive tomorrow. The fourth is social rehearsal. Arguments, embarrassment, being judged. For a species that survives in groups, worth practicing. The fifth is stranger. Your visual cortex is enormous, and brain territory gets taken over when it goes unused. 8 hours of darkness is a long time to leave it idle, so the suggestion is that dreams keep it busy, not a message. Maintenance. And there's one more thing dreams seem to do. Solve problems. The chemist Auguste Kekule said he worked out the ring structure of benzene after dozing by a fire and seeing snakes. One of them caught its own tail. Though he told that story in 1890 about a dream from 1862, 28 years later, at a ceremony held in his honor. Historians of chemistry have wondered about that. Now, there's a problem with everything I've just told you. Every study of dreams ever run had the same flaw. You cannot look at a dream. You can only ask afterwards. And by then, the person has woken up, changed state entirely, and started forgetting. So what's being studied isn't dreams. It's what people remember about dreams several minutes later in a completely different state of mind. And people remember the strange ones and forget the ordinary ones, which tilts every data set toward the unusual. One of the field's leading researchers put it bluntly. Waking questionnaires, he said, have nothing to do with what people actually dream. Until 2021, when 4 separate labs found a way around it. The trick uses lucid dreaming. That's when someone knows inside the dream that they're dreaming. Some people can do it reliably, and they can still move their eyes on purpose while everything else stays paralyzed, which gives you a channel. Narrow, but real. Teams in France, Germany, the Netherlands, and the United States waited for confirmed REM sleep. Brain activity was monitored throughout and scored afterwards by 3 independent experts. Then they asked questions. out loud, to a sleeping person, and the sleeping person answered. Not later, right then, from inside the dream, with deliberate eye movements. They did arithmetic, 8 minus 6, 1 plus 2. They answered yes or no questions. They told apart flashes of light, sounds, and taps on the skin. The maths had at least 4 possible answers, so guessing should have given 3 wrong for every right. It didn't. One man was given a sum in Morse code while asleep. He signaled the right answer with his eyes. When they woke him, he said that inside the dream, he'd been thinking he had to remember things. The researchers described it as something like talking to an astronaut on another world, except the world was built entirely out of memories already inside that person's head. So, your dream, being chased, somewhere ordinary, something going wrong, happening to you. If that sounds familiar, you're having roughly the same dream as everyone else, which is either comforting or unsettling, depending on your mood. Your brain builds a world every night out of memories you didn't know you kept, runs you through threats, tests your social reflexes, then wipes the tape before you wake. 60 years and we could never look inside it. Then, it turned out that some people, mid-dream and fully asleep, can hear a question, work out the answer, and reply. Somebody is home in there. We just had no way of knocking until 5 years ago. Tell me in the comments what your dream was. I'd like to see how boring we all are. And if you've ever known you were dreaming while it was happening, say so. That's the rarest thing in this video, and it's the only reason we know anything at all. Subscribe if you'd like to know what else your head does without telling you.